So, what I'm going to do today is we're going to go through 5 foods that men eat every day that is potentially destroying things. So, let me tell you about a gentleman who shows up into the clinic, and really his big issue was he said he was fairly healthy, right? So, here he is, a fairly healthy gentleman, but at the same time, he's having some issues, some erectile issues, right? So he tells me, he's like, Doc, I'm fairly healthy. And I say, okay, well, tell me what is fairly healthy to you. So he tells me, he's like, I eat salmon and broccoli 3 to 4 times a week, right? So he's eating salmon and broccoli. Sounds great, right? He's kind of a creature of habit. So once a week, he does movie night with his kids, Family Guy. This gentleman's in his 50s. And his big thing is that now he's getting an erection, can't keep it as long as he would like, and it's not getting as stiff as he would like. So he's kind of here telling me, I'm very healthy, doc. What could be the issue? On top of it, he says that, he maintains his weight by making sure he's not eating a bunch of sugar. So he does use sugar substitute every now and then. He makes smoothies sometimes, not my E-Function smoothie recipes, but he does do smoothies, and he uses a cup, like a thing full of this protein powder that he uses. And he exercises a few times a week, and he gets about 7 hours of sleep. So when you hear this about this guy, you're thinking, well, gee, doc, he does sound pretty healthy. What could be the reason why he's having the difficulty? A healthy guy in his 50s, technically shouldn't be having erectile issues unless something is kind of thrown off. So what I want to do is go through his daily regimen so that you can understand your daily regimen, so that you can figure out exactly where the problems could be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow your mind a little bit, because a lot of what you think you know and what you think you understand about your food items may not be the case. And so what I want to do is help you peel back the layers so that you can understand the underlying cause of things, so that you can fix them. And that instead of putting a Band-Aid on it or taking a quick pill, we've got other options, all right? So I'm glad you're here. So let's kind of get started. So first thing on the list, let's talk about his salmon and broccoli every day. So we go to the restaurant and we say, I'm going to have some salmon because I know it's healthy. I'm trying to avoid red meat, blah, blah, blah. The problem with buying your salmon every day from a restaurant or going in and getting the cheapest salmon that you see is a lot of it is farmed instead of raised in the wild. And what we find and what studies show when we get farmed salmon is that it's really high in chemicals, toxins, and endocrine disruptors, or things that are going to destroy your hormones and disrupt what's going on there, right? So farmed salmon is not healthy. And unfortunately, so many of you probably are eating it today or sometime this week, think that just because you're having salmon, it can be healthy. Well, so the salmon, depending on where they've gotten it from, can actually be causing part of the problem. So that was one thing that he was doing. But you know what? I know you're thinking, well, this is good though, because he was eating broccoli. And I talk about greens all the time and how they help boost nitrates and help improve blood flow and can help with hormones and testosterone. The problem with eating broccoli or even cabbage or Brussels sprouts 4 to 5 times a week is that they are something called a goitrogen. Right? New word there for you. I'm going to drop it. Goitrogen. And the issue with goitrogens are that they actually block thyroid function by interfering with iodine. So you're like, well, doc, what does thyroid have to do with the D? Well, thyroid has to do with everything. If your thyroid hormones are thrown off, your other hormones are going to be thrown off too. Your testosterone levels are going to be thrown off. And so are your estrogen levels. So it's great to eat broccoli, but broccoli should not, for men and women, be something that you're eating every single day as your staple go-to, because it is a goitrogen, G-O-I-T. So look up goitrogen so that you can figure out, could this be part of your issue too? So the goitrogens that he was eating was actually depleting his testosterone levels and disrupting his hormones with the thyroid. So thyroid hormones, those are hormones, testosterone are hormones, and estrogen are hormones, and you don't want to disrupt any of those. Okay, so the next thing that this gentleman was doing, which you may be doing too, is that he had decided, he was on a keto diet and he was drinking diet soda regularly. He was so proud he had gotten off of soda in general, the sweetened sodas, which is great, but he had decided to supplement it with diet soda. Now, you may not be doing diet soda, but if you are putting scoops of protein powder into things or scoops of beetroot powder, I want you to look at the packaging. Does it have any artificial sweeteners in it? And we put those in those because it helps it taste better and makes you enjoy it. But the problem with artificial sweeteners, your artificial sweeteners can be making you fat. We find that when we look at lab animals and people, and we put them on artificial sugars. This is stevia, this is Splenda, this is Equal, this is all of them, unfortunately. Even though, some of them are saying they're made from all natural sources, when we look at people who use these chronically, it increases inflammation, it increases blood sugar, it decreases core hormones, all of the things you don't want, right? So we cannot rely on artificial sugars as part of our daily regimen, right? If you have to have a sweetener, I'm here to tell you, natural sweeteners like honey actually have really great qualities to it. And if you happen to be allergic to honey, there's maple syrup that we can use that might be a good alternative. But using these artificial sugars and thinking that they're helping you stay thin, they're actually causing inflammation and endocrine disruption, and they're even linked with depression and anxiety. So all we need is for you to have the D not working, and then you're anxious, and then you're depressed, and you're using this stuff on top of it. So please, 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 please scale back on that. Now, another thing he's doing, he's a family guy. So he's having popcorn with these movie nights that he's hosting at home with his kids. And like, great, I love dads. My dad was such an important part of my life. And movie night is so fantastic for everybody, but guess what they were doing? They were doing microwaved popcorn. Microwaved popcorn is so detrimental to your health. Not only is it going to fuel inflammation, but you're exposing yourself to PFOAs, which is basically a toxin that has been shown to increase your risk of developing forms of cancer. So instead of microwave popcorn, what we should be doing is just taking any pot, putting some oil in the bottom of it, putting some popping corn in there, put some salt in there, put the lid on it, put a little fire underneath it, and let it pop naturally like people did back in the day. This microwave popcorn stuff is quick, it's easy, and it's quickly destroying your blood vessels, and it's quickly interfering with your erectile function. Someone asked if pure cane sugar is good to use. I prefer pure cane sugar over processed whitened sugar. Absolutely. But keep in mind, sugar is pro-inflammatory. So sugar is going to cause some inflammation too. But if you had to ask me, Doc, do you prefer me having a little bit of sugar or a little bit of artificial sweetener? I'm going to go with a little bit of sugar all the time. Check with your doctor though, because your doctor might be on a totally different page than the one that I'm on, right? So this gentleman had artificial sweeteners regularly. That was causing a problem. This gentleman was eating the same thing every day, which is a problem, right? It's a problem because our bodies desire rainbow types of vegetables. A little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, a little bit of green, lots of greens. But try to stagger and switch up your vegetables so that you're not eating the same one every time, especially if it's a goitrogen. All right. Then on top of that, he was eating farm-raised salmon, thinking that he was doing a really good thing for himself. The quality of the meat, you want it to be organic. If it's going to be farm-raised, you want it to be sensibly raised, like places like Whole Foods, allegedly, they do a little better with their farm-raised salmon. You can have a conversation with the butcher or the person back in the meat section to ask more conversations about where this salmon is coming from, but you definitely want to try to err on the side of the salmon being wild. Right? So really, when we peeled back the layers of what was going on with this seemingly healthy gentleman, is that so much of what he was doing was interfering with the underlying functions of erectile function, which are blood flow, hormones, and making sure that the inflammation in your body is kept to a minimum so that the blood vessels and the tissue within the erectile tissue don't go bad. All right? So keep in mind, there's study after study showing that men who drank cola are way more likely to have erectile issues. Not only that, but they're way more likely to have lower testosterone levels. So make sure you're paying attention to artificial sweeteners hidden in some of the things that you think are healthy. Right? Make sure you're paying attention to where your meats are coming from. You don't want them to have any added antibiotics or hormones or anything like that. You want your beefs to be pasture raised. You want them to be as organic as they possibly can. You want to make sure that you're not consuming microwave popcorn. That is a no-no on top of a no-no on top of a no-no. And one thing that I didn't really mention here is that as part of his keto diet and his protein diet and his attempt to really stay as thin as possible, he was eating a lot of cheese. And what we know about guys who eat a lot of cheese, a study came out of the University of Rochester that showed that men who ate a lot of dairy were more likely to have lower levels of testosterone. And we need testosterone levels to be elevated in order to keep the testosterone available so that we can have fantastic stiffness, right? So I use his story to show you that once we corrected all of that and did some small lifestyle shifts, everything started to go back to the way it had been previously. So I want you to understand that sometimes it's the smallest shifts that are going to have the greatest impact. And I want you to use the shifts and the stuff that you learn here and in other all-natural spaces instead of rushing out to get the pills, because the pills and the quick fixes do not help you fix the underlying cause. And when your erections start to suffer, it sometimes is your body's way of telling you, hey, we got something going on here that needs to be addressed. And so you want to pull back, figure out where that is, and make sure that it gets addressed. You know, one great way to do that is to head over to myedquiz.com. Make sure you take the quiz and understand where some of this could be coming from. I got an email from someone who said, I got Manibus drained as a result from myedquiz.com. What does that mean? Well, Manibus drained basically means you're using your hand way too much. And as a result of it, we have erectile issues. And, you know, the report kind of helps you come up with strategies as to where to start to heal from some of these things that can be causing erectile issues. All right? So I love that you're here. I love that you're tuned in, because not only are we going to help you stiffen things up, I'm also going to help you just be healthier, lose weight, feel better about yourself, feel better about what's going on. Because I think the saddest thing is when I meet gentlemen who are, you know, kind of hiding from the relationship a little bit because they're scared that if they have intimate moments, it's not going to work. It's not going to be like it used to be. And so what we got to do is quell that anxiety and, you know, boost the things that we know are going to help you have better outcomes. All right. So, and speaking of this, I got great. Squeak sent this, the E-Function smoothie. I don't leave the house without drinking one. They truly work. Thank you, Dr. Ross. You know, he gives me this big muscle symbol. So listen, the smoothies work for so many of you because we're using the clinically proven nutrients that we know that are going to improve blood flow, increase testosterone production, increase your body's ability to use what's there, help you slim down, help you decrease inflammation, and do all of that great stuff. So if you haven't gotten your smoothie recipes yet, it's definitely something that you want to look into. We have the printed copies coming soon, volume 2.0, right? We've got some extra smoothies in there, but also I'm taking you on a journey in volume 2.0 where you can actually understand why the ingredients of the smoothie recipes are actually working. What is the clinical data? What's been proven? What is it shown? So that you can actually take so many of these ingredients that we blend together to make the Dick Up smoothie, that we make the Vitality smoothie, and sprinkle it throughout your lives in days in ways other than smoothies. Like, so say you're on the road, you're traveling, and you don't have access to a blender. How can you eat for your erections, and the great thing about this, the E-Function Smoothie Recipe Book, is that it helps you do just that. And for those of you who've already purchased and downloaded the digital version of it, you will have a special offer where you can get the printed version of it for much discounted than a first-time buyer or user of it. And for those of you who want to win one, just send me a little testimonial. Let me know how the E-Function smoothie recipes have helped you become stiffer, have helped you decrease inflammation. Maybe your joints are hurting less. Maybe you've lost weight. Maybe your partner is using them and things are juicier there too. Or maybe you've even just noticed a huge improvement in your energy and stamina level. You're pooping more, you're feeling better. So all of that, send me your testimonials, and if I play them here or show them here, I'm going to sign a copy of the printed version when they come in, and you'll be the first to get it. So I appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea. And then let's see. Oh, the benefits of watermelon. Yes, the watermelon is amazing. Watermelon is amazing because it works on one specific pathway of nitric oxide production. But also, watermelon, some people are allergic to ragweed. Some people don't like watermelon. Watermelon is seasonal. So having the full smoothie recipes, the E-Function smoothie recipes, helps you understand what else can you get those similar benefits from. And volume 2.0 is so cool because it explains to you how to mix and match the two different nitric oxide pathways. Because if nitric oxide isn't getting made in your body, if it isn't sticking around, guess what? You cannot get an erection. That's why so many of you will say Viagra worked for a while, Cialis worked for a while, and then it stopped. Because your body isn't producing the nitric oxide that's necessary for those things to work, right? So what can we do to boost that? That is amazing. And yes, spinach is amazing because spinach helps boost oral nitrates and helps with one pathway of nitric oxide production. Boom. So so that's amazing. So I also wanted to, Alan asked, where can I get the ingredients for the smoothie? Head over to drrachelinstitute.com/smoothie recipes. And Julio Chingaling, thank you so much for that. God bless you too. Yes, awesome. Amazing. So here's the take-home message here. So when you start to realize that things aren't going the way you want them to, I want you to scale back. I want you to look at your lifestyle. I want you to look at your food. If you subscribe and you've been following me and you're on our email list, then Look at your sleep patterns. Look at your food patterns. Look at what you're eating. Look at all these different things. Look at, are you still getting morning wood? Has it stopped? What are some of the signs and why is that so important? If you haven't watched the one on morning wood yet, make sure you watch that video. It talks about the importance of morning wood and what that means to me as a clinician who's trying to help, but also what that should mean to you when you stop noticing that you're getting morning wood. It's kind of like a hoo-hoo, hello. It's like a red flag. It's like a warning, and what does that mean and what you should do the minute you realize that. Now, last week, too, one of you asked me to talk a little bit more about the Phoenix and Shockwave. And what I wanted you to understand about Shockwave is that once we get to a point where blood flow is compromised, right? So here's the thing. When you figure out why blood flow is compromised, that's one thing. But then you have to deal with the effects of the fact that blood flow has been low, right? And what does that mean particularly? What that means is that once blood flow becomes low to a particular area, it starts to do something called atrophy or shrink. Or a good way to think about it is we want that tissue to be soft and elastic so that it can fill up with blood and expand. But as that tissue starts to become necrotic, that's what happens when blood flow starts to decrease. Every tissue in your body starts to become necrotic when blood flow decreases. In your heart, if blood flow decreases or comes to a stop in a certain area, what do we call that? We call that a heart attack or an infarct. When blood stops flowing to a certain part of your brain, what do we call that? We call that an infarct. We call that a stroke, right? So when blood flow starts to not be available in these areas, you have to regenerate the tissue in order for the tissue to start back working right. And so when we're talking about the Vaxaid or the Hydro Pump, or we're talking about the Phoenix, that is actually what's happening, is that the Phoenix is taking and it's putting current through. So it's putting like a sound wave type of current through the tissue to help regenerate the tissue, right? So what it's doing is, and it's a very loud machine, and I get that as a complaint, but it needs to be loud because what you were using in shock wave aren't shocks. We're using sound waves, and the sound wave penetrates through the tissue and helps your body rejuvenate or regenerate the tissue that over time has gotten necrotic or stiffened and not elastic enough to expand. It's helping to repair, it's helping your body recruit growth factors so that you can build more blood vessels. And so some of you have gotten the Phoenix and you send me messages and you say, well, doc, this has really changed the game for me. Some of you get the Phoenix and then message me early on and say, well, doc, it didn't really do anything for me. You need to do the lifestyle stuff that we talk about, the stuff that's in the bundles, right? The stuff that, that you got 50 pages of information to go through from my Ultimate Stiffness Bundle that you need to be doing on top of or in advance of using the Phoenix device, right? My favorite is when for the first month or two, you do the stuff that's in the bundle, the Ultimate Stiffness Bundle. You use your Vaxaid to help improve blood flow and expand the tissues and get things ready. And then you come in and bam, you either go and get some shockwave from your provider, because a lot of us are doing it in a clinic, or you invest in a shockwave device that you can use at home. Now, another complaint that I've gotten about the shockwave is it's just like anything else, right? This device will not last you a whole lifetime, because it's pounding, it's jacking, it's getting the sound waves all the way through, and eventually after a certain number of uses, after using it for about 1.5 years on average, certain components of it won't work anymore. Well, the news is that even in my $20,000 machine that I have in my clinic, those parts, I have to order new parts for it all the time. Nothing lasts forever. So if you're using the Phoenix for your home use, the idea is you use it every 3rd day and you use it for a month on your penis or your erection, and then you take 30 days off. Now, if you've gone through my stiffness training, then on those 30 days off, I advocate for a second protocol. That on those 30 days off, you're actually treating the perineum and the areas below the erection visibly that you can't really necessarily see, but they help support everything. So the whole idea is we're using the Phoenix to help blast through the tissue and get things back to baseline. So now for those of you who don't have a Phoenix and you want to try it, what you should do is actually look in the links below. I've put my affiliate information. There's also a code for you to get $50 off your purchase. And if you're going to buy it, use my links because they pay me a small bit of commission and it helps support the channel and helps keep things going here. So here's the thing. You always want to combine whatever it is that you're doing with the lifestyle and the nutrition changes that we talk about. You may have gotten, the bundle talks about some different herbal supplements and why you would use them and when you would use them. And for most gentlemen, it's going to be a combination of some lifestyle shifts, some dietary shifts, some supplements, improving blood flow to the area, to all together put together this nice jolt and shotgun effect that's actually going to bring you way better outcomes than just popping a pill every time, because eventually, I'm here to tell you, those pills that you're popping are going to stop working eventually. And they're okay to use periodically. You're on vacation, you're having a good time, met someone new and special, you just want to blow their mind every now and then. I get it, but this is not something that you should be using regularly. We want to fix the underlying cause, all right? So every Thursday we're here. And so make sure you check out the video too that also talks about morning wood and the 5 things that guys do on a regular basis that are destroying stiffness. And if you haven't taken your ED quiz, head over to myedquiz.com, get your smoothie recipes. Let's do this. We hang out here so that we can get to the bottom of some of these male-centered issues. All right, so I'm Dr. Rachel. It's men's health all day, every day. And women tune in because a lot of women have very special men in their lives, whether it's a boo, a bae, a husband, or a dad, or an uncle, or a brother. So this is the channel that loves guys and helps support you and helps you be the best that you can be. All right? Oh, I love this. Yes, I also take the beet pills along with an oil. Yes, Time Maze. I love that. I got to screenshot that because I love it. It's a combination. It's a full frontal approach, no pun intended. And you don't want to keep putting a Band-Aid on it. You don't want to keep putting the issue off. This is where you start to heal and improve and optimize, all right? I will see you next week.